Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio.
Hi, Zaron.
Hello, Elizabeth.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It was raining earlier, and I always like a nice rainy day. So,
I know.
Yeah, I'm good.
Nice
How about you?
reprieve.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good in my head and my body.
No, that's the best place
Sure.
to be good.
Why not? Do you know what's ridiculous?
I do, Elizabeth.
Oh.
Now, I have to admit, I don't know if this is real,
Okay, it doesn't matter.
right? But I often have this where I'm like, I spend a lot of my time now, and I'm not just talking like, oh, this is AI slop, is this real question? But like just news stories. I will see like a news story roll past, and I'm like, is that real? And I have to click on it. I spend a lot of time not reading things I want to read, but reading things I have to decide.
Yes.
Is that real? Is that true? Could that be?
Yeah.
Here's another example. According to, and this is why I don't believe it, WXYZ's Channel 7 News, a Florida woman has been accused of entering the penguin enclosure to teach them to tap dance using a live alligator as her partner.
Wait.
Jacksonville, Florida PD stated she was also dressed as a pineapple.
Wait.
Like, I just can't believe that's true. But like, it could very
Is
well could be.
WXYZ a real station?
I didn't look it up. I just saw this. I didn't have enough time. This is what I mean is I've yet to.
There's too
I
many.
haven't looked into this one. I'm giving you fresh. Is this real? This is like just happened. I was walking into the studio and I was like, that can't be
there
real.
are too many. We're
So I'm just telling you right
inundated.
now where I am.
Dressed like a pineapple.
Yeah. Yes, walks into penguin enclosure with a live alligator and was like, yeah.
And the alligator is
y'all want a boogie woogie?
helping to teach tap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Ostensibly.
Yeah. Tap dancing, it was involved. So I don't know if he was helping to teach or he was demonstrating so much, like, don't do it like this. You
Right.
know? Like, I don't know.
just, strong arming, making them participate in
Maybe
this.
he was the better dancer.
Maybe
he was teaching, like,
Maybe he was the one doing all the moves.
He's like, let's go
she-
show these penguins because when you're not here, I need someone to dance with.
I like that.
So,
This is such a strange world that we live in.
every
These
day,
are
at
headlines.
least 6 or 7 of these where I'm like,
Yes.
is that headline real? And then I
Yes.
have to go and read it. And that's a new thing for me where I'm just spending all my day
Reading
going,
garbage.
is that real?
Is this real? Do you want to know what else is ridiculous?
What, Elizabeth?
This hot take. Renaissance pamphlets are basically zines.
Oh.
Oh. This is Ridiculous Crime, a podcast about absurd and outrageous capers, heists, and cons. It's always 99% murder-free and 100% ridiculous.
You're damn right.
I know. This, our cycles have synced once again. This is apparently historical crime week here.
I know.
I got one for you from hundreds of years ago.
I like this.
I know. We're
Like
going.
no iPhone faces in these stories.
Oh, it's the best. And then no one can get mad and send us a message that like, oh, you did a show about me.
You got my story wrong. I'm actually her granddaughter.
Exactly.
This is, how dare you?
I love that. So we're going back to the 1600s, baby.
Yeah.
1642.
Okay.
The Treaty of Axum was signed between the Dutch West India Company and the chiefs of the Nzima people in the modern-day African nation of Ghana.
Yes.
That happened that year.
Awesome.
Folks in Galway, Ireland, they seized an English naval ship and closed the town gates to support the Irish Rebellion of 1641, the year before.
Oh, okay.
Still going on.
Still kicking.
300,000 people died when the Ming Dynasty defenders intentionally destroyed dams and dikes of the Yellow River.
Oh, washed
And
away.
it was
300,000.
it was to break the siege by the large Manchu Dynasty rebel force.
Like just wash them
away.
It was like mostly an army that gets washed away.
Yeah.
And then whoever attends to them. All the
300,000.
various.
In colonizer history, Georgiana, Massachusetts, now known as York, Maine, became the first incorporated city in the British colonies of North America.
First incorporated city?
Yeah.
They made it official.
They made it
we
official.
put it on paper.
They put a ring on it.
All right.
Abel Tasman and his crew became the first Europeans to see Van Diemen's Land, later known as the
Tasmania.
Australian island and state of Tasmania.
Huh.
Galileo died that year.
Oh, okay.
So did Walada Petros, saint in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church.
Wait, if Okay, go on. Sorry. I was going to do something with Galileo. It doesn't matter. What did you say, the last part?
Walletta Petros.
Yes.
Saint in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Okay.
That person died as well. King Charles, this is all 1642. King Charles I of England and a bunch of his soldiers ran up on the House of Commons to arrest his critics for treason.
Oh, yes. They were getting wild.
Yeah, they escaped. The critics escaped and were protected by the Lord Mayor of London. And this is of note because that was the last time any monarch entered the House of Commons.
Ever.
That was it. Yeah.
So like this ain't your house
Well,
no more.
then the English Civil War kicked off.
Totally, yeah. Cromwell,
the first one with Charles I raised the royal battle standard over Nottingham Castle and declared war on his own parliament. England's Long Parliament ordered the theaters of London closed. It pretty much ended the era of English Renaissance theater.
Right, okay.
So there's lots going on all across the globe, but a particularly tumultuous time in jolly old England. And that's where we're going to start today, 1642, England. So, but put a pin in that.
Okay.
So now let's talk about Riot Grrrls.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is quite the
It
record
is.
skip.
It is.
I'm going to need a whole different record player.
I just finished listening to Kathleen Hanna's memoir on Audible. She was the lead singer of the punk band Bikini Kill and the one who founded the Riot Grrrl movement. So for the uninitiated, Riot Grrrl was a feminist punk movement that emerged in the early 90s, pretty much like in Olympia, Washington, and then Washington, D.C. And it combined this like DIY punk music with feminist politics, created a space for women to express anger, like reclaim their bodies, challenge sexism in the music industry, and then like society at large. And so the core bands were Bikini Kill, Slater Kinney, and Bratmobile. And there were tons of like self-published zines that shared personal writing, political manifestos, and community resources. And there was this phrase, girls to the front, that Kathleen Hanna used to yell that was this rallying cry that encouraged women to take up like literal and figurative space at shows.
Yes.
So Riot Grrrl addressed topics that were largely taboo at the time, you know, like sexual assault, body image, racism, homophobia, in this really raw, unapologetic, and direct way. And it was as much of like a cultural and political network as it was a music scene.
Yo, 100%.
Yeah, and it influenced
very much so.
third wave feminism.
I was going to say, it's almost like its own subwave of feminism.
Yeah, exactly. And it left this mark on Indian and punk culture. So the memoir I thought was really good because I went back and forth between totally relating to what she was saying and experiencing, and then also rolling my eyes at how extra she was sometimes and how overly sensitive I thought she was about some things.
Like they could be like super raw and then also super precious.
Yeah,
like moment to
I
moment.
like to be challenged by writing and art. I don't want to just, you know, feel all one way. I like the back and forth of my own reactions. She did get me thinking about why I thought things that she said or did were naive or precious and not like in the what we'd call the real world. Like my own programming, you know, by an inherently misogynist society, I suppose. Anyway, when I stumbled upon the woman...
Did you experience a Riot Grrrl summer of your own?
Not necessarily, no. It was like kind of swimming around and like, you know, would like listen to parts of it and stuff, but I never got into like the zines and the meetings and like going heavy into that kind of stuff.
I gotcha.
But so I'm looking around, I'm like, who am I going to tell you about this week?
Yeah.
And I found this woman and it made me think of Kathleen Hanna. So this woman, Mary Carleton, she was just like a blatant criminal. Kathleen Hanna, not a blatant criminal. And Mary Carleton, though, she wrote her own account of her life and like numerous pamphlets, plays, and broadsides were written about her both during and after her life.
This is at a time where that is beyond uncommon.
Right. And so she's this fascinating figure in the history of female agency, crime, and celebrity. So she navigated this world with like very few legitimate opportunities for women.
Okay.
So like Kathleen Hanna had to choose between waiting tables and stripping in order to make money to get her band on the road for tour. And she chose stripping because there was so much more money involved.
Yeah, 100%.
So then
Not that I've stripped, but I know that there's more money there. I know a number of dancers.
Imagine how tough it was for Mary Carleton 350 some years earlier.
Yeah.
So Carleton and Hanna, they both...
No strip clubs.
No.
Yeah,
well,
so I did the math.
They were so audacious.
Well, I mean, places where you can actually make a good living,
right? And
exchanging
and
something.
have the agency of it.
Still have exactly.
So they were audacious and they reinvented themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of feel like Mary Carleton was like a proto Riot Grrrl.
I like this.
Yeah, I like it too. I like where I'm going with this. And it's a risk. It's a gamble.
Well,
I'm rolling these dice.
I knew a number of Riot Grrrls, and so far everything you're describing is eliciting both their spirit and their comportment. So.
Yeah. See, okay, I'm on the right track. I said like people can't if I tell something from the 1600s, they can't complain. But now I got like Riot Grrrls are going to come at me, but that's okay.
I think you're doing it with love. This isn't that kind of critique.
It is with love. And so it was.
Yes.
In 1642, I told you all the things that happened.
1642.
That was also
Lost
the year.
Galileo.
That's the year that Mary Carleton was born in Canterbury, England. Her dad was a fiddler.
Professional musician.
Is 100% going on my list of fake jobs that I tell people I have. Taxidermist, greeting card writer, fiddler.
Play Green Sleeves. Is that like the play Freebird of that period? Exactly.
He's like, oh, God. So when she arrived in the world in 1642, she was Mary Mollers into an England in crisis. She grew up, she married a shoemaker named Thomas Stedman. Like, just like Oprah, she hooked up with a Stedman.
She got a Stedman of her own.
He had a job, but like Mary wasn't stoked on it. She wanted more. She didn't want to be the daughter of a Canterbury fiddler and the wife of a Canterbury shoemaker. She hung on for 4 years with this guy. And then Stedman got called to fight in the Civil War, and Mary saw her chance. She ran off to Dover, England. So in 1660, she's 18 years old. She got busted in Dover. Now let's do the math. Assuming she got busted pretty quickly upon arrival, that means that she was married to the shoemaker when she was 14.
I was skipping past that because I know you know how to do that math.
So bleak, but like, so common.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
100%.
14.
14. And she's 4 years deep into marriage at 18. Just like, I want to get to Dover.
I got to get out of here. So she gets to Dover. She got in trouble for trying to marry a surgeon named Thomas Day. Like, she's trading up. The problem is that she was still married to Stedman.
Oh, bigamy. And all
that. He's off fighting in Dunkirk, which that place has had it rough, I tell you. But Mary told the court that she heard he was dead. She's like, bigamy? Not guilty, Your Honor. No, not me. So the judge let her go, but only on the condition that she either provide proof that Stedman was really dead.
I was about to ask, yes.
Or break it off with the surgeon. And so
because there's no Stedman. He's still fighting at this point?
Yeah, he's out in the front.
She's like, I heard he was dead.
She's like, well, I don't have written proof that he was killed in battle, but I'll swear to it in court. And the court's like, well, let's call for him to appear. And he didn't show, so she got acquitted. She's like, there you go.
Proof.
Yeah.
Okay.
But wait.
No body, no crime.
But wait. Apparently, quote, there was also present at the trial a bricklayer, one Billing, who had brought with him a parson and a clerk as witnesses that he too had once married her. Oh. But for some reason, his case was not ever heard.
No one listened to him because he was kind of like a pushy
just
dude.
Just a bricklayer.
Everyone was like,
poor
man,
Billing.
you know how bricklayers are with those rough hands.
Justice for Billing. So I feel like...
He brought a parson. I mean,
but then
this was the guy who hitched us.
That's making me roll the dates back even further. If she was 4 years in deep with the husband,
I thought she was already a bigamist, so she like married him at 16.
I think she married
the
original guy at like 13, and then did 4 years, got to Dover, married Billing, there's a lot going on.
Totally.
But I feel like Mary was doing that thing where you start with a paperclip and start trading up until you have like a yacht. First, she went from shoemaker to bricklayer to surgeon. Me too. I
don't have that kind of stick-to-itiveness for trading.
I just don't care enough.
I'll be like happy with like the early thing. Like you get like,
this is good.
Here's a light bulb. I'm like, I need a light bulb.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't have to talk to anyone else. So anyway, she was able to beat the charges. And so she decided, like, well, maybe England isn't the place for me.
I love it, by the way, Busted in Dover. Sounds like a Pogue song.
It totally Busted in Dover. Yeah. Or like Hold Steady.
Hold Steady, yeah. Totally.
So they knew too much in England. So she went to Germany. And it was there that she put the moves on a wealthy nobleman, an older gent. And he was all about it. He gave her presents. He bought her clothes. He just like handed her straight up cash.
Okay.
Promised her the moon. He's like, as long as you will marry me. And she's like, you know what? Why not? I will marry you.
I'm well practiced.
Let's do it.
I still have the dress.
I mean, there's this whole thing like I might be already married and like I've already beat bigamy by a hair.
People keep saying I'm married everywhere I go.
And I think that maybe like this reality got to her.
I think they're just jealous.
Well, like the whirlwind romance with the nobleman ended just as quickly as it began.
Oh.
She promised, okay, you know what? I'll marry you in 3 days.
She love bombed him.
3 days. And he gave her a ton of cash and was like, go get whatever you need for the wedding, my love.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Classic.
he's smitten. He's like, I just want to make you mine.
Yeah.
So she's staying at this lodge, and the nobleman gave the landlady there this wedding chest full of absolute treasure for safekeeping.
Oh, wow.
And Mary would get the chest and all the loot upon their marriage. So as soon as the landlady left the lodge, like she went out to the toilet in the back or something, I don't know. Mary busted open the chest and took everything. And then she got the heck out of town.
She couldn't wait the 4 days into whatever.
She's like, I don't want to marry this guy. Marry him. I want to just like... So she got a ticket to Utrecht and ghosted old homie.
Okay.
And I got to say, these men, they're using her for her youth and beauty.
Oh, yeah. I don't feel bad at all.
And they would discard her without a thought.
Yeah. It's a transactional thing and she just moves quicker.
Yeah, exactly. She decides to use them first. Fair play. So from Utrecht, she went to Amsterdam. And once there, she sold this gold chain and some other jewelry that he'd given her. And she used that cash to get to Rotterdam.
Okay.
And she's smart. She's like spreading out her fencing so it can't really be traced. From Rotterdam, she bounced around a little, and she finally bought a ticket back to England. And, you know, it's a successful trip to Germany. I got a bunch of stuff.
It's a fun crime tour.
So she arrived in Billingsgate, which is like this entry point into London at the end of March 1663. She's 21.
1663, okay.
And she didn't enter London as Mary Mollers or Mary Stedman or any other name she'd already held. She walked into the Exchange Tavern in central London, dressed to the nines, carrying herself with dignity, dripping in jewels, and speaking with like this slightly continental foreign accent.
Okay.
Can't put your finger on it. She said,
I'm imagining kind of like a less pronounced Eva Gabor, kind of like,
right?
You don't know where
Could
I'm
be
from.
anywhere,
I
somewhere.
could be singing.
I'm from Rich. Yeah. So she said her name was Princess Henrietta Maria de Wolve from Cologne.
Oh, so you should be, okay, French, German,
Long,
the Frankish real.
Yeah, long way from a fiddler's daughter. So this is how she characterized her background in her own words. Quote, my father's name was Henry von Wolwe, a licentat and doctor of the civil law, and lord of Holmstein, a man esteemed for his services done to the city of Cologne in mediating their peace and security and neutrality in the Swedish and German war, and for other effects of his counsels and endeavors to our ecclesiastical prince-elector, and the house of Lorraine, in all those turmoils of that country, in the first rupture of the Spanish and French war. I instance these remarks because, having been so long dead some 19 years, I cannot better describe or characterize him to strangers, though he were known in his own country by other great and noble actions, as well as for his long and ancient descent from an honorable family of that name, which whosoever shall give himself the trouble of curiosity and inquiring may yet find preserved from the ruins of a destructive and but just composed conflagration.
Damn.
So
she a
yeah,
wordy girl.
Like break it up, girl. Like the period is your friend. Put it in there. Yeah, a lot of commas, comma action.
Give people a place to pause, reflect.
But it's also it's all the like highfalutin, flowery language.
Totally. It sounds like imitation lawyer speak.
And it's a long way from a peasant Kentish accent of the time. So she's trained herself in this.
Yeah.
She said that her parents died before she was 3, but her father left his entire estate to her. And she was an orphan and taken in by the church, specifically the nunnery of Sancta Clara. And there she got this education, good home training. She was given all the proper breeding and such, but she wanted more. I mean, that's like her true story, right? Just wants more.
Yeah, a little truth, little lie mixed together.
Exactly. In this version of her life, she didn't want to be alone all the time.
Okay.
She didn't want to live like an old nun while being this like vivacious young gal. She said, quote, I felt some such strong impulses and natural instincts to be ranging abroad and in action as the first finders of terra incognita were urged with, to discover of those regions of whose existence they had no further assurance than their own hopeful bodings and divinations.
She's like, look, it's the age of exploration. I want to
I
explore
want to
too.
explore. I want to get out there. I got that itch.
Yeah.
So she told people that she traipsed around Europe and she was hounded by suitors. One was an old soldier. According to Laura Kolb, associate professor of English at Baruch College, CUNY, quote, a Faust-like student of the dark arts.
Gotcha.
The old soldier.
Yes, a devil's bargains.
That's a little scary. And then there she was, walking into the Exchange Tavern, ready to see where the day would take her. Let's take a break. When we return, we're going to join Mary in the tavern on her search for her next fool. Zaron.
Elizabeth.
Okay, so here we are in the Exchange Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think this must have been a tavern.
I'm picturing her iced out in jewels, correct?
Oh,
right?
completely.
She's still,
dripping in them.
bedecked. Okay.
And like fancy clothes.
Yeah,
like she rolls
she's got
in.
her like weird continental German, French accent.
Right,
Okay.
right. Now,
Darling.
I think that this place must have been located next to the Royal Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And that was created by Sir Thomas Gresham. He was this wealthy merchant and a financial agent to the crown.
Mm-hmm.
So by like the mid 1500s, London merchants had been conducting their business outside, not like the posh traders that this guy had seen in Antwerp and Amsterdam.
They were still doing it like farmer's market style.
Yes, yes. So he was like, you know what? London deserves a mercantile exchange that's worthy of a great trading nation.
We should be indoors too.
We
like
need
the
to
Dutch.
be inside and out of the elements like the Dutch. So he's like, I'll build it if the City of London Corporation will like give me the land.
Gotcha.
So they're like, cool,
Yeah, we
let's
got
do
land.
this.
It's a little swampy, but we got land.
We can make this work. So in 1565, they start working on it. 3 years later, they're done. That's like breakneck speed for a huge building like this.
Show offs.
With no like excavators and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're not a dozer in sight, Zaron. So the January 23rd, 1571, Queen Elizabeth I visited it for this formal ceremony. There's all this pageantry. She proclaimed that it would henceforth be known as the Royal Exchange. So that made it legit. Like people believe it.
She put her imprimatur on
and
it.
it served this dual purpose that made it really unique in London. So the lower courtyard was where all the merchants and brokers and traders would gather and conduct business in like commodities, shipping, bills of exchange, insurance.
Yeah, the more liquid stuff.
Yeah, and the merchants typically congregated in like specific areas of the courtyard according to their trade or their nationality. So there were recognized walks for like Virginia merchants.
Okay.
And
slanging tobacco.
Yeah, those
tobacco
trading
futures
with the Levant and then goldsmiths over here.
I got you.
So the upper galleries were called the Pawn, and they were lined with shops that were rented out to like milliners, haberdashers, booksellers, apothecaries, dealers in luxury goods.
Okay.
And the retail spots were super fashionable and like commercially valuable. And they attracted this wealthy clientele and gave the exchange an additional revenue stream.
Now, are they selling direct to customers at this place?
Yeah, in the upstairs,
Yeah, so it's like a bit more like a shopping market, but it's a nice like level of like thoroughfare, bazaar style where you've got dealers going, look at my wares, and you're like, that's some nice ass silk.
I love that. That's awesome. Can I have some?
Yeah.
Sure.
How much for that lace hat?
So there's this combination of like high commerce. A lace hat would be amazing.
I thought you would
How
love
much
that.
for the lace hat? I was like, well, I can't dwell because now I'm just imagining what does the lace hat look like?
Yes.
Like I'm kind of thinking, is it like a lace fez?
Oh, that'd be cool.
I like that. Or is it floppy, like a floppy?
That's what I was picturing a little bit more. Yeah, exactly. It covers the ears a little bit.
Why not both?
You know, it's like, is that a tea cozy?
It's a two-parter.
Hat.
It's a two-parter. Yeah. So there's this
Looks
high
like a mushroom
commerce
cap,
on the floor, retail up top. It made it into this like social and commercial hub.
Okay.
So gentlemen were there, noble women, visitors to the city. It was like a tourist attraction.
I got you.
And then it's this emerging culture of news and information comes out there, because that's where booksellers in the pawn were selling pamphlets, gazettes, news books, zines. So that's where you're getting all your information.
And paper ain't cheap then. It was like an investment. Like,
right.
Like you having like 10 books is like, man, got a library over here.
There's information about what's going on in the world, and there's commercial intelligence, because you've got like shipping arrivals, commodity
reports
prices.
From India.
Political rumor. Like you could get things going, like in terms of movements. That gets traded just like the commodities do. So it made sense that Mary would show up there. It's the place to see and be seen.
So where the action is and the money.
Yeah. She walks into the tavern, but she's not alone.
Okay.
She has a parson with her. They'd met on the ferry in.
People traveling with parsons.
They just pick them up. It's like it gets stuck on your shoe or something. They met on the ferry in from the port in Gravesend, and the parson was like sweet on her.
Of course.
He wanted to get in them draws. He was like, let me see that lacy hat.
He's like,
Mary.
He was kind of country too, I imagine, as a parson.
Let's pretend,
so he's like, they're going to go into the city, and he's like, I like you.
Yeah, you're awful pretty.
I'm sweet on you.
So Mary's like, I'm not about that. Like, I'm operating at such a higher level than
But I'll take
right
the social protection till we get to town.
Well, though, she gets to the tavern and she asks the owner, Mr. King, like, can you help me? I need a place to stay, but I also have to get away from this creepy parson. Like, he will not leave me alone. And
second shadow over here.
Mr. King's like, yeah, of course. And so he and his wife, like, they're scoping Mary out, though. They like get her set up in a room. They see, okay, she's got all these jewels. She has trunks of stuff.
Oh, yeah. She's
clothes.
got finery on finery.
Oh, yeah. So many lace hats. So she moved in, and she's like sending letters overseas, and they're looking to see like, oh, who's she writing to? And they wound up being no better than all the creeper dudes. They're like, you know what? You should totally meet Mrs. King's brother. He's rad. You would really love him. His name's John Carleton. He's a lord. Did you know that? He's a lord.
Oh.
And
they thought of like the richest man they knew who was young enough to marry her.
They're so he's like, you guys should. My wife's brother, a lord. This doesn't make any sense, but okay. And Mary's like, yeah, okay. You're singing my
Lord
song
with an L. Okay.
So he jumped into action and wooed and wed Mary in the space of just a few weeks.
Okay.
And Rebecca Hess, writing for Mental Floss, said, quote, she met John Carleton, a well-to-do clerk, and spun a sad tale of misfortune, claiming she had escaped a forceful union with an elderly count. She forged elaborate letters, quote, proving she had an aristocratic family. At one point, Mary even conceded that if she were a man, she'd have been heir to the Danish throne. You know what, girl? Same.
Yeah,
same.
Go reach for the royalty you can claim.
So the wedding had to be performed twice. The first time,
wait, what?
The first time the Carletons forgot to get a license.
Oh, they had okay.
But they made it official.
I didn't know they had to have licenses then. I figured they had to have like a church person sign a piece of paper, and that was it.
Apparently, the bands get it all signed. Mary was stoked because she thinks she landed a rich guy.
Oh no.
John is stoked because he thinks he's landed a rich lady.
Oh yeah, aristocratic gal.
So when Mary's wealth failed to materialize, John's family turned on her.
What about all the jewelry? Couldn't they like hawk a little
They
of that?
busted in and they took all her stuff. Her clothes and jewelry included. Like they took all her clothes. She had nothing.
Oh damn.
And so according to Mary, quote, my husband's father cometh to my lodging in Durham Yard with Mrs. Clark, and my husband and others called me cheat and harlot, violently stripped me of all my apparel and jewels, pulled off my silk stockings from my legs, cut the lace off my body, and scarce left me anything to cover my nakedness with, hurried me before justice, where the father and son are bound to prosecute me for having two husbands. They press me to confess the truth. I did insist upon no other justification than my innocency, the which at last was my security and refuge against their malicious and unnatural dealing with me.
Man, she's got breath like a saxophone player. She's I start a sentence and I just get going and going. So wait a minute, this place. So do you think that, because she's been somewhat of a con artist up till now.
Sure.
Do we believe her account? Is she being a faithful narrator where she actually did get got?
No, I think she's just lying, making stuff up.
Like she might have promised some stuff and then they just took it. They're like, we're tired of being lied to. When can we have the stuff?
I don't think she ever does an outward facing truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So she gets indicted on charges of bigamy at the Old Bailey in London in 1663. You know, that same old song and dance.
So she's like 20, what, 23 years, 21 years old?
Yeah. So this is the revenge.
1663?
This is basically the revenge.
1642 she was born, so she's 21 years old?
She's 21 years old. Because remember, she gets to London and it's within a few weeks that she marries.
She's so busy. I love this. This is like her third, fourth husband.
She is efficient.
Possibly fifth.
Yes. And so who knows how many. We now have, though, the revenge of the Canterbury shoemaker.
Yeah.
And then also the guy in Dover, because they're still sort of married. She's just racking them up. So Laura Kolb wrote, quote, unofficially, she stood accused in the court of public opinion of a far more interesting cheat, impersonating a fabulously wealthy foreigner in order to lure the hapless Carleton, a lawyer's clerk, 18 years old, into marriage.
He was 18.
Though Mary herself modestly claimed noble rather than royal birth, she became widely known as the German princess. So it was 1 month between her arrest and her trial. In that time,
quick.
Yeah, she had almost 500 visitors in that time.
What?
Yes.
So she's a celebrity.
Oh, people were paying the jail to come and just look at her. They wanted to size her up, see for themselves like what she's about, see if the woman that they'd been reading about and gossiping about was anything like what they'd imagined.
And is she getting a cut with the jailers?
No, of course not.
The jailers are just getting rich and like opening the door and saying, take a peek.
Take a look.
Then slam it shut. That's one shilling.
One of the people who came to visit was Samuel Pepys, an English naval administrator, member of parliament, but best known today for this crazy detailed diary that he kept between 1660 and 1669.
How we know a lot about this era.
Correct. So his diary is one of the most celebrated in the English language. It was written in his like personal shorthand, and it was vivid and candid, had these intimate accounts of life in Restoration England, including eyewitness description of major historical events like the Great Plague of London, the Great Fire of London, and the Second Anglo-Dutch War. So those are like the highlights in there. And then it's also got all these, like you're saying, like really frank accounts of his personal life, his habits, his relationships, his emotions that give us the full picture of what it was like to live then.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that he went to check Mary out. Like he wanted to be a witness to history.
He's a chronicler, yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to see for himself the woman at the center of what people are calling the case of the German princess.
And he's basically a journalist, so this is the biggest story going.
Yeah. And he's got like, he's a member of parliament. He's known. So Kate Lilly of the University of Sydney wrote, quote, from first to last, the case of the German princess was, in Foucault's famous phrase, an incitement to discourse, the talk of London coffee houses and taverns, and the subject of about 30 published texts of various kinds and sizes over the next 10 years. Mary was resolute in her refusal to confess either bigamy or imposture, insisting that she was an aristocrat and a, quote, stranger, that is, an immigrant, deserving of courtesy and assistance, and that she had never before been married.
I like that you hear Kathleen Hanna in her story, whereas I hear Kim Kardashian in her story. I'm like, she's this masterful person who keeps moving through husbands and partners and bouncing her way up and aspires to be semi-royalty.
Right.
Gets up there where everybody knows her name. People were just paying to take a look at her. I mean, like this, and also, I mean, like everyone wants to talk about her, but like, really, what is she offering? It's not like she's affecting world politics. There's all these wars going on.
So
but she's just like this young girl who's just out there living her life like fully. People are like, tell me more about her.
And
What's she up to now?
I feel like her whole thing is like, what have I got to lose?
Yeah,
why not? Why
Yeah.
not? So back to court she goes. She went hard on John for misrepresenting himself as a lord.
Oh, by the way, I should say I never look down on Kim Kardashian. A lot of people do. I like
She's
her
a
as
hustler.
if you put it in the sense of like making your life into what you want it to be, she's
very
phenomenal.
much like her mother made her life into.
Well, sure, but I'm saying, but she continues. So I do respect a person from like, wow, I'm not going to say like anything about how. I don't say like if reality TV is worth the time. I don't mean that. I'm just saying is like she done earn what she wanted to attain. And so just like this woman, conditions were being what they were. You have to keep the context in mind. How many options did she have? So I'm impressed.
Exactly. So Mary, she's like,
I'm still waiting for her to get political though.
Yeah, she's like,
all primed on
I'm not the bad
Kathleen
one.
Hanna,
John's the bad one. He said he was a lord. She said, quote, you told me you were a lord and I told you I was a princess and I think I fitted you. So back to Laura Kolb. She said,
okay.
she said, quote, there she becomes the victim of a con, not its perpetrator. King and his in-laws, the Carletons, keep her semi-imprisoned, fearing that someone else will hear of this rich foreign lady and snatch her up. They set John to woo her in the guise of a lord. This ruse is complicated by the fact that it is only hatched after John and Mary had already met, but the Kings get around this by telling Mary that they had been in disguise as commoners during their first encounter.
So they're both
Everyone's
lying
just
about,
lying it.
I'm royalty, but not everyone knows.
They're all just a bunch of working class folks pretending.
Yeah.
Pretending.
This is where.
So who's better at pretending? So John, he told Mary all sorts of tall tales. He's talking about mansions, tons of land.
I got to take you to my ancestral lands.
And Mary was like, I'm willing to forgive him because I figured like he intended to get all of those things with the money that he thought she had.
Okay.
You know, like, oh, I'm going to be his vehicle to become better.
Okay. His Martha Washington.
Yeah. The one that Mary really went after was John's father. She knew he was the driving force behind the bigamy charge now that he figured out that he didn't have a princess in the family. So she admits she lied about who she was. And she admits that she went out of her way to show off her jewelry and flash the letters she was writing to European bigwigs.
Okay.
She said she wanted credit and she wanted respect. Those are two things she never would have gotten from anyone had she just been herself, no matter what she did. So, according to Laura Kolb, quote, as she tells it, greed drives their scheming, a native ingenuity and harmless love of mischief, hers. Rather than censure, she deserves applause, since, quote, it was very difficult to personate greatness for so long a time without slips or mistakes. So she's like, look, I did this convincingly for so long, like, gotta give me respect. I'm an artist.
Yeah, exactly.
She is.
Look at my commitment to the bit.
She's Ginger Rogers to his Fred Astaire. She's doing the same thing, but backwards. It's even harder.
Completely. And she was fully kayfabed. She was like, look, I never broke character.
Yes. So John didn't see it this way. He was the big victim in his narrative. He was overwhelmed by Mary's love and her sophistication and je ne sais quoi. He couldn't believe that a bodacious babe like her would go for a guy like him, you know, little old
So
me.
he really did like her, and his family was the one trying to get him to con her.
Who knows?
And then he was like, wait, she's real beautiful.
Yeah,
I
who
love
knows?
her.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he's just as nasty as the rest of them.
Okay.
He said that because he wrote his own book about all this
did he?
later. Oh, yeah. Everyone got a book out of this. He was nervous about this chasm in their social standing. You know, she's a princess.
He's but a commoner.
Lowly commoner.
Sure.
And a little brother at that. Like, that was his other thing. It's like, I'm a younger brother.
Really?
But also ran.
He did birth order stuff? Oh, of course, he's not going to inherit the land.
Exactly.
It wasn't just like, oh, I'm like the bad kid.
Yeah, but no, I'm just the... So he called only one witness who wasn't very convincing. And he'd wanted to get Stedman there. But Stedman...
Sorry, I'm picturing Oprah's husband.
I know, right? Stedman was like, you got to pay for me to come out there. I'm not going to pay my own way.
Are you kidding me? That's
and
expensive.
the Carletons were like, never mind.
Really?
Yeah. So in the end, Mary
everybody
persuaded...
broke in this story.
Yeah. Mary convinced the judge and the jury. She got acquitted.
Really? A nice guy.
But there was a catch.
Oh, no.
She wasn't a bigamist, which meant that her marriage to Carleton stood. And that meant that everything she had belonged to her husband, jewels and all. She played herself. So after her acquittal, she started studying law. She was like, I have to figure this out. And that makes sense. Like, it's going to help her like craft future endeavors.
I gotta sue these.
She's like, I am not falling into any traps like this ever again. They just took all my worldly, ill-gotten possessions.
She became a jailhouse lawyer.
Yeah. Let's take a break. And when we come back, more Mary. Zaron.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, how you doing? Okay, so Mary Carleton. The public interest in her following her acquittal in June of 1663 was absolutely remarkable in its intensity.
It
There
sounds
was
like it.
print on the stage and in person.
Oh, right.
She was like
People
basically
doing monologues about her.
She was the first true celebrity scandal of Restoration England.
Wow, get it, girl.
Right? And so this fascination actually like preceded the acquittal itself. So remember, like all those people came to gawk at her in prison.
Yeah.
The acquittal, but like unleashed a flood of print. So within her time, she was the subject of more than 30 pamphlets published between 1663 and 1673.
Okay.
The bulk of like the initial burst came out in the weeks and months immediately after the trial. In 1663 alone, there were more than a dozen pamphlets and broadsides written about the case, a pair of autobiographical self-defenses by Mary herself, 2 rebuttals by John.
I can start to see the zine quality.
Oh, yeah. Printed
Like,
reports of
she
the
wrote
trial.
what?
Totally.
Give me that box of
There
type.
were all of like the transcripts from the trial. Everybody got a book deal out of this.
So can you imagine when imagine they're just using movable text at this point, right? So you got like drawers of letters. Like he's like trying to like write out his thing. I imagine hopefully he wrote it out beforehand in longhand. He's not actually writing while he's like, hand me the K.
He's
now, hand me this.
At the press,
right? Exactly. So like the idea of like you doing your zine on a literal press, and having to like like impress your letters into this into the print.
Is so like that's the pinnacle of hipster zine, though.
Right?
Like if you had a letterpress. And then you'd have a handlebar mustache and drive a fixie bicycle
and
do some weird way to brew your own coffee.
Totally.
You roast your own coffee beans. My zine,
and you're in like a roast battle, basically. Like
that's what they're doing. They had a battle. There was like a genuine literary battle going on. Like both sides are publishing pamphlets to support their own story. So John Carleton's camp published The Replication, or Certain Vindicatory Depositions.
Vindicatory.
So he's like trying to rehabilitate his image. Mary responded with this own like richly embellished autobiographical piece, The Case of Madame Mary Carleton. So she puts it in her own name.
Yeah.
But she wrote it as if she were directly addressing Prince Rupert, the British royal on exile in Germany.
Her tie to royalty, because remember, she's like, I'm from Germany.
But she's Mary Carleton, so she was married
Brits
to
and the Germans had all that connection, Hanover and all that.
Yeah. So this is like, for her to write directly to a royal was bold and unusual. No one from those kind of beginnings or humble origins would do such a thing. And in the book, she issued this critique of women's subordinate status in marriage. And she asserted herself as, quote, merely my own free agent. And she talked about like she connected her issues to contemporary political debates about self-determination and contracts and property rights.
Sure.
So scholars have since recognized everything she's done as more than just scandal literature.
Yeah.
That she was laying the groundwork for really important cultural changes in England.
So it wasn't just diss tracks the way people might dismiss it. It was actually like Riot Grrrl level of critique.
Of larger social critique. And it basically introduced feminist philosophical critique of domestic patriarchy in that time.
I love it.
Political and social theories of human subjectivity. There was some of her stuff was about early capitalist ideology, and also it sort of is the rise of the novel, because it's all this invention, her story.
I got you.
So it's got something for everybody. So her fame quickly found its way to the theater. She starred in a play about her life. There were a couple plays that came out, and one of them she starred in. She did her own biopic. This was an incredible instance of a living figure playing herself on the stage. So it was called A Witty Combat, or The Female Victor. And it was written by Thomas Porter, and it capitalized on this public appetite for her story and then the fascination with this persona. And the fact that she could perform her own myth for a paying audience shows like how thoroughly her identity had become kind of like commercial property.
Totally. I mean, the Kathleen Hanna and Kim Kardashian of it all, it's like a 50-50 mix.
Yes. So you want to know who went to see A Witty Combat?
Who, Elizabeth?
Samuel Pepys.
Of course, right.
He went and he said he found it disappointing.
Well,
he's
too smart for that.
So it got mixed reviews. But it also got her a bunch of new admirers who gave her gifts.
Oh, rich young guys with...
She even married one of the dudes.
Naturally, that's what she does.
And then the pattern that
it had
followed
been at least a year.
Was pretty predictable. Like, she left him, took his money, his valuables, and his keys when he was drunk.
She robbed him cold.
Oh, yeah, completely. So then her next thing is she pretended...
Like, you should have known who I was, son.
So then her next thing is that she pretended to be a rich virgin heiress, fleeing an undesirable suitor that her father had arranged for her.
I'm at this point waiting for her to flee to the colonies.
Oh, just wait. So this is like her preferred MO. Like, this old gross guy wants me.
Yeah.
Help.
She keeps doing the Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. So she builds up this fake identity that's, appealing to social aspirations, as we know.
All right.
But she's focusing not really on aristocratic men, but like on prosperous guys.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. Rich and successful. Yeah. By successful, I mean rich.
And like her other thing that she would do is that she would kind of like win over the closest female relative first.
Oh, smart.
To like plant the flag and like get the
That's an old money move.
So in the one instance, she made it seem to her landlady like she had the fortune of 1,000 pounds left to her by her uncle.
All right.
And then she let it slip that, and my dad's also super rich. And he has like way more than $1,000.
Is she establishing a credit line against this inheritance to come?
I wish. But she's like, I don't have access to the money because my dad tried to marry me off to someone I just couldn't stand. So I made a run for it. I left the countryside. I came to London. I'm trying to lay low. And then she faked a bunch of letters back and forth to old friends at home who would, like, these fake friends would keep her posted as to like what was happening with her dad and stuff.
So wait, she's pulling Runaway Bride and then sending fake letters as if she's wanting to find out, is Daddy upset? Is he going to send somebody for me? Yeah. Is Jacques on his way? She'd
leave the letters lying around her room and like the nosy landlady finds
reads them.
So the landlady is like, I have a rich nephew.
This is a total Spanish prisoner move. I love it.
She's like, you got to meet my nephew. Zaron, close your eyes.
Yo, yeah, my eyes are closed.
I want you to picture it. You are a porter at an upscale lodging in London. A rich lady named Mary is staying there. You think she's off. There's something strange about her, and slightly familiar, but whatever. What do you care? She's taken up with your boss's nephew. He is smitten. You can't tell if it's with the girl or her money, but, both are pretty nice. You prefer a bustier, heartier wench, but that's just you. There's a knock at the door. It's the day's post. You open the door to the bustle of the street outside. You take in the one letter and close the door. You look at the address. It's to that Mary character. Luckily, she's in the parlor with that dimwit nephew. You pad down the hall and stand in the doorway, clearing your throat. Mary and the nephew look up. You tell the miss that you have a letter for her and walk it over to her. She takes it and thanks you. Doesn't tip. As she opens the letter, you step out into the hall, but you decide to have a seat in the chair just outside the doorway. You listen in on what they're saying. This has been a very slow day, and you are bored and nosy. You hear the tearing and then the shuffling of paper. There's a pause. The nephew asks what the letter says. Mary bursts into tears. You lean toward the doorway to get a better earful of this. This is getting good. She tells him that her brother has died. Here, she says, read the letter. And you hear him shuffle the pages a bit. You peek around the corner and he's staring at the paper, his lips moving as he reads. So, does this mean your father's estate goes just to you now when he dies? He asks. She tells him yes, but that in order to collect, she has to marry the man her dad wanted to marry her off to. She has to collect herself, she says. She has to leave the lodgings because this letter means that both her dad and her intended groom now know where she is. Come stay in my lodging, the nephew says. You know where he's going with that offer. He wants to share a bed with that lass. You scoot your chair to get closer to the doorway, and it makes a loud scraping sound on the wood floor. You freeze. It's silent. Then you hear the nephew sneeze. The two continue talking. You don't think they noticed you in the hall. You quietly stand and head toward the back of the house. You freeze in your tracks. You know where you remember that lady from. That's Mary Carleton. You want to go tell her not to worry, that her secret is safe with you. You're looking forward to your boss's nephew getting everything stolen out from under him, which will be much easier now that she'll be staying at his place. You smirk and duck out the back door to use the prison. So, Zaron,
No, you're gonna leave me on the squatter.
I'm going to leave you on the squatter. Well, I'll give you your privacy. So Mary kept running that con over and over again. Like, she did indeed rob the nephew and disappear. Like, she moved into his place, took all his stuff, left. Even took all his clothes.
Her cost of living is so high that she's never satisfied, nor can she create like an investment or like buy like an inn.
Yeah, she's got to keep it rolling.
I got to get through this.
But then things caught up to her.
Oh, no.
And not in the way you'd expect.
How so?
See, Mary returned to the public's attention in 1671.
Was it quicksand?
Well, she got her...
You said not a way I would expect.
It was quicksand.
Like,
how did you
no
know?
one saw this
I guess
coming.
you did expect it. She was arrested for stealing a silver tankard in Covent Garden.
Oh, no.
So this elegant, thoughtful fraudster got pinched for theft.
And a small time one, too, like swiping a glass.
And the courts...
I mean, a big glass, but a glass.
But the courts had pretty much exhausted their patience with her at this point. Like, there was going to be no leniency. And at the following sessions, she was...
Wait a minute. They're like, marry all the guys you want, but if you steal a big
Well, this was the thing
cup,
is that was a capital offense.
Stealing a silver tankard?
Yeah.
Why, 'cause it's silver?
She gets found guilty and condemned.
Wow.
But then she gets a reprieve and is ordered for transportation. She's like, whew, where am I going? Australia? No. They sent her to Jamaica, Mon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's going to Jamaica. So she gets sent to Port Royal, Jamaica in 1671.
Just too early.
Oh, yeah. Well, when she got there, the opportunities for her were less than slim. Like, she did the only thing she could do and worked as a prostitute. Now, 1671 was a very interesting year in Port Royal. This was the town at its most vivid and raucous. And it was also the year...
Before the earthquake.
Well, yeah. And it was the year that the tide began to turn against, like, the buccaneering
the pirates.
culture.
Yeah, totally.
So,
this is the height of piracy.
Yeah, a little about Port Royal. It was located at the mouth of Kingston Harbor in southeastern Jamaica. It was once the largest and most prosperous city in the Caribbean, functioning as the center of shipping and commerce in the Caribbean Sea.
For the Brits.
Yeah. Its proximity to, like, many of the only safe passages.
Yes. It's a great harbor.
Giving access to the Spanish Main from the Atlantic made it, like, the ideal base for state-sanctioned pirates.
Yeah, if you're a privateer, buccaneer.
Yeah. So the harbor was large enough to accommodate large ships. The shallow waters provided a place to, like, careen and repair vessels. Port Royal was prosperous thanks to the proceeds of that privateering, the state-sanctioned piracy. And the returns were eye-watering. The 300 men who accompanied Henry Morgan to Portobello in 1668 came back into town with a prize of at least 60 pounds each. And that was 2 or 3 times the usual annual plantation wage.
Damn.
And that's just for one run.
Yeah.
Port Royal was one of the wealthiest communities in the English territories of North America, and because the money went way beyond anything they were pulling for sugarcane. So whenever the Buccaneers were successful, the town rejoiced. You know, all these citizens, they had, like, a lot of them had invested in their ventures in exchange for a share of the spoils.
Totally. The money flows through town when it hits.
Oh, yeah. 1/10 of the loot was claimed for the king, and then, you know, the rest off it went. So by 1671...
And the governor's going to take a pinch. You know, you got, like...
Yeah. 1671, Port Royal was this, like, dense, intensely concentrated settlement. There's like 10,000 people living there. And so there are prostitutes and pirates, but there are also goldsmiths. There were 44 tavern keepers.
Oh, yeah.
All these artisans and merchants. There were 2,000 buildings, and it was 51 acres of real estate. So it was more densely packed than London.
That's
the
nuts.
drinking culture alone was legendary.
Yes.
So there was one drinking house for every 10 residents.
Can you imagine all the doctors they need?
Oh, my God.
Because of the drinking culture?
Seriously. In July of 1661, 40 new licenses were granted to taverns.
Wow.
And the town's wealth was so huge that coins were preferred for payment over bartering. Like at all the other colonies, bartering was everything. The high rollers in Port Royal dealt in cash.
The abstraction of cash as opposed to, like, give me 2
Yeah.
healthy goats.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what I have.
So the defining event of 1671 in Port Royal was Henry Morgan's return from his, like, most audacious expedition. January 1671, this buccaneer force led by Captain Morgan attacked and captured the port of Panama on the Spanish Main. This is like the pinnacle of the pirate era. Morgan, he had this fleet of like 30 ships. He had like 2,000 men under his command.
It was an army.
Yeah.
A privateer army.
So he seizes the fortress of San Lorenzo, hacked through the jungle of the Isthmus, swept aside all the Spanish defenders, sacked the city that had never before fallen. So he comes back to Jamaica. He gets there on March 12th, 1671. I don't think Mary was there yet. But she came later in the year.
Yeah.
He got a hero's welcome. But the political
Could
ground.
you imagine that party?
Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Like to see them coming into port, and just everyone going nuts. The ground is shifting under his feet politically, though.
Yes.
Because only shortly after he'd left Port Royal, a message came to the governor there that a treaty had been signed between England and Spain.
And that flips everything.
Yeah, so that meant that the pirates had attacked Panama during a time of peace. So the governor was already under arrest on his way back to England in June.
For being dirty.
Yeah. Morgan got arrested April the next year and sent to London for his attack on Panama. Because, it's exquisite irony, right? He gets arrested at the moment of his greatest triumph, not for what he had done, but when he had done it.
Yeah, it's purely it, because it's the sliding legality of they were our enemy. You can do whatever you want. They're our total loyal ally. How dare you?
Exactly.
And then you get punished as an example
and
of their
to
loyalty to
know
their new
about
ally.
Treaty?
Of course not. Nobody does. And it takes weeks to get word to you. So there'd be this whole idea of it should be more when did you know, as opposed to when did it occur?
Right. So by the time Mary Carleton arrived as a transported convict in 1671, she's washing up on the shores that were already starting to change. So Captain Morgan's been arrested. The governor has been arrested. London is we're reining it in here.
Yeah.
And
we want to end the piracy era.
This is the free-for-all era in Port Royal is entering its twilight. And so, Henry Morgan eventually gets appointed as lieutenant governor.
Oh, yeah.
But
there's a reason why he's on a liquor bottle now.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain Morgan is there because he manages
but
this.
Pirates are no longer needed to defend the city. And then what takes its place in importance is the selling of enslaved people.
Yeah, well, there's that.
So even from Jamaica, though, Mary couldn't resist selling her myth. So this new pamphlet starts to circulate, a zine, claiming to have been written by Mary, quote, to her fellow sufferers in Newgate, in the prison. So the pamphlet had her claiming to have been received and accommodated en princesse. So the German princess persona had not died.
Yeah, it comes back.
This is from the pamphlet, quote, ingratitude is the blackest of crimes, and forgetfulness in a friend is more than a venial sin. To avoid both, though our noble extraction and the excimonious of our birth and state might apologize for either, I send this missive to inform you of my condition since I was exiled the British shore, which is this: health and success still waits upon me, and I cordially wish you the same attendance. So she's they sent me out here. I'm doing great, guys. I hope you're doing well.
And she's sending this basically a letter back to prison from Port Royal.
Yes.
And she lets people just see it. Okay.
Look what they've done to your princess. So she eventually returned to England illegally. She snuck back to England.
Oh, right, because they banished her, essentially.
Yeah. So this is a super bold move, because she was sent there as an alternative to hanging.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be a life of exile.
Right.
And that's the kindness.
She wasn't the only transported convict to risk, coming back instead of life in the colonies. For her, okay, the gallows are a known risk.
Yeah.
But there's this anonymity. Death by anonymity in Jamaica is unthinkable.
She'd rather face.
Yeah. So she
rope.
wasted no time reverting to the only life she knew. She set up again as a rich heiress, and she got married to a really rich apothecary in Westminster.
Apothecary, okay. I figured she was going to get a planter's son.
Well, then she robbed him of more than 300 pounds and left him.
Ooh, that's bad on an island.
300? No, this was back.
Oh, back in England?
Yeah, back in England.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So so she's back. The apothecary in Westminster.
Yeah.
300 pounds was a huge amount of money. Several years' wages for a skilled tradesman.
She's set up.
So her luck finally ran out December of 1672. She got busted when a turnkey from Newgate Prison was searching for stolen property and then recognized her. So it wasn't a magistrate or a wronged husband or an officer of the law. It was a prison warden looking for someone else's stolen property who happened to know her face.
Oh, no.
So she was kept in jail until January 16th, 1673. She was 30 years old.
He basically is just doing his, like, whatever, like, not a raid, but like his rounds. Like, he's been told to go check this place.
Like, check the pawn shop.
And then he just sees, he's like, he does like a, don't I know you? And then she's like,
Yep.
And then at that point, does not that her sentence gets like basically reinstated, but is it up to him to decide? Like
he's got to drag her in front of the court. Like,
okay, so he basically just takes possession of her legally, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're coming back to prison."
Throws
with
her
me.
into jail.
Okay,
she's 30 at this point.
Yeah.
She was brought by writ of habeas corpus to the Old Bailey and asked whether or not she was the woman who usually went by the name of Mary Carleton. She was honest and answered that yes, she was. I mean, there's no point in denying it. So the court then demanded to know why she was back so soon from Jamaica. So she stalled, she performed, she lied, she maneuvered. She was Mary, basically. And then she tried everything. Nothing would work. So then she did what they called, quote, pleading her belly. She said she was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So by this long legal
pleading
custom...
her belly.
That would stay the death sentence until
you can't
after she
hang
gave
a pregnant
birth.
Woman.
Yeah. But they called in this jury of matrons, and they announced that she was, quote, not quick with child. So, like, she's lying.
Yeah.
So on the last day of the sessions, she gets the death penalty. And it was noted in the record that she took the sentence without flinching.
Really?
Yeah. So once she was condemned,
I'm impressed.
People start wanting to visit her again before the hanging. They couldn't get enough. Clergy come by. The curious well-wishers are all coming through the prison in the weeks between the sentencing and the execution.
And she's just 30 years old. So she still looks real young, fresh-faced, all that, even though she's been in like rough places like Port Royal.
So she was hanged at Tyburn on January 22nd, 1673, died as she had lived, performing to a crowd. So if anything, like, death amplified her fame. More pamphlets came out in the years after her death. It turned her into this folk hero. Zines, I'm telling you.
Totally.
And
she died young. I mean, she like James Dean'd out.
Oh, yeah. They were full of tall tales, too. In one, she seduced the son of a rich man, got him dead drunk, then took his money and sold him into slavery on a ship bound for Barbados.
I was just about to
ask, they're like taking little elements of stuff.
Because, you know, like in the era of, like, say, the 1870, basically the post-Civil War era, you start getting all these letters back from the West selling the stories of the cowboys to people in Philadelphia and Baltimore, Boston, and so forth. And it's all pamphlet style stuff. It's not full books. They're getting like these little, like, basically chapbooks.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing in England, but it's with the colonies and especially Jamaica, where it's like now she's part of the great ending of the piracy era.
Yeah.
Did they tie her into that as like pirate queen?
Yeah. And then another had her earning her freedom in Jamaica after foiling a plot to murder the captain of the ship that was taking her there and then charming the governor. They make her a character in all of these events. The public needed her to be larger than the historical record could contain. And the writers are like, oh, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
So, Zaron, what's your ridiculous takeaway?
It's not that ridiculous, I have to admit, Elizabeth, because I'm very impressed with your Kathleen, Hannah, Kim Kardashian, like, meld of this woman who's basically, we spend like, what is it, like a few years with her. I know we started when 13, 14.
Yeah.
Up to 30, but basically it's most of her adulthood that we really focus on her life. And she did a heck of a lot, bounced around, saw a lot, even though she was sent places on like prison ships. It wasn't like, oh, the luxurious, I took the liner, but for where she started and with a few simple lies and mythoses, she was able to make herself, like, make real out of make believe a great life.
Well, and think about it too. Samuel Pepys is like this witness to history, but she just as much, if not more so, because
she was the actor.
She's seeing like the England that she's born into and the Europe that she travels through, the things that she must have heard and seen. And then to be in London when she's in London, and then to go to Jamaica and see what's happening there and to live it, what she witnessed in history is absolutely remarkable in those brief adult years.
I don't want to like I'm reluctant to do this, but we don't really have now. I guess we do with Joan Didion. And I was going to say Hunter S. Thompson. We'll say Joan Didion is the person who lives the story and then writes about it and basically writes themselves into better stories in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, and makes their mythos part of what people then start responding to. So now she's living inside of the stories other people are helping her to write.
Yeah.
So she really nails that kind of like gonzo journalism, California cool before it was a thing.
Sure.
In terms of like, I live on my myth and I don't have to fight or kill anyone to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, because Pepys is like, he's like, what do you call it? The observer, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be both observer and actor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's a shame she didn't get to really comment on what she had observed.
Yeah, I would have liked to see what she had to say, which is like 40, 50.
Yeah, exactly. I think after that, I need to talk back. What about you?
Same, girl.
Let's do it, Dave.
Talkbacks. Oh my God, did he just say that?
OMG.
Hi, Ridiculousness. I wanted Zaron to know that due to his pocket contents, if he were a bird, would be a magpie. And Elizabeth, because of the characteristic traits with which you share, you would be a white leghorn chicken. Please enjoy Googling what their characteristic traits are, and I hope you get a chuckle. And if you don't, who knows, who cares? Bye.
Okay, you are magic. I love that. That was
great
so
calls.
good. They're great calls.
You nailed us.
Oh, that's perfect. You are a magpie, and I'm a chicken.
A leghorn chicken.
Exactly.
I'll say.
That's it for today. You can find us online at ridiculouscrime.com. We're also at Ridiculous Crime on both Blue Sky and Instagram, and we're on YouTube at Ridiculous Crime Pod. Email us at ridiculouscrime@gmail.com. Leave a talkback on the iHeart app. Reach out. Ridiculous Crime is hosted by Elizabeth Dutton and Zaron Burnett. Produced and edited by Princess Dave Kustin, Mary Carleton. Starring Annalise Rutger as Judith. Research is by Renaissance investigative journalist Marissa Brown and suspicious innkeeper Jabari Davis. The theme song is by Celebrity Bards, now performing at the Globe Theater in their two-man show, What It Do, Thy Fair Maiden, Thomas Lee and Travis Dutton. Host wardrobe is provided by Botany 500. Guest hair and makeup by Sparkleshot and Mr. Andre. Executive producers are Jamaican goldsmith Ben Bolin and Jamaican cobbler Noel Brown.
Ridiculous crime.
Say it one more time.
Ridiculous crime.
Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.